Christmas lights still flicker along the quiet streets of Boulder, Colorado, when the call came in just before dawn on December 26, 1996. Snow clung to the lawns in thin, uneven sheets. The Ramseys' brick home, grand and warmly decorated for the holidays, glowed softly in the early morning darkness. Inside, panic had already taken hold. Patsy Ramsey's voice trembled as she dialed 911. Her 6-year-old daughter was gone. A ransom note, 2.5 pages long, had been left on the back staircase. It demanded $118,000. It warned them not to contact the police. It claimed a small foreign faction had taken their child. But the police were already on their way. Officers from the Boulder Police Department arrived to a house that felt strangely still. Patsy was hysterical, clutching the ransom note. Her husband, John Ramsey, tried to remain composed. Friends began to gather in the living room. Neighbors, a minister. People summoned in fear and confusion. Hours passed. Detectives searched the home, but initially failed to open a little-used basement room. It was nearly 1 p.m. when John, instructed to check the house again, descended the stairs. He opened a white wooden door. He found his daughter's body lying on the cold concrete floor. She had been bound. There was tape over her mouth. A garrote had been fashioned from a broken paintbrush handle and cord around her neck. The horror of the scene struck with the force of something unspeakable. John lifted her and carried her upstairs, contaminating the crime scene in a father's desperate, instinctive act. The house that had glittered with Christmas joy only hours before it became a place of grief and suspicion. News spread quickly through Boulder and beyond. The murder of a young beauty pageant contestant, blonde, smiling, photographed in sequin dresses, captured national attention. It was a story that seemed almost theatrical in its contradictions. Wealth and violence, innocence and brutality, celebration and death. From the beginning, investigators faced a problem. Was this a kidnapping gone wrong or something more intimate? The ransom note was unusually long and oddly specific. The amount demanded matched John Ramsey's recent bonus. The language shifted in tone, at times threatening, at times oddly polite. Handwriting experts were divided. Some believed Patsy could not be excluded as a writer. Others found the evidence inconclusive. Meanwhile, the autopsy revealed that JonBenét had suffered a skull fracture and strangulation. The sequence of injuries, whether she was struck first or strangled first, remains debated. What was clear was that she had endured violence no child should ever experience. The tragedy deepened with each revelation. Suspicion soon turned inward. Patsy Ramsey, a former beauty queen, had enrolled her daughter in pageants. Critics questioned whether the glitz and glamour had exposed her to danger. Others bristled at the insinuation, calling it victim blaming. John Ramsey, the successful businessman, seemed calm. Too calm, some observers thought. His measured television appearances were interpreted by some as stoic dignity, and by others as chilling detachment. The couple insisted on their innocence. Investigators clashed with prosecutors. The crime scene had been compromised by the early presence of friends and clergy. Evidence collection was imperfect. There were fibers, a broken window in the basement, a suitcase placed beneath it as if someone had attempted an escape. DNA found in JonBenét's underwear did not match any immediate family member. Years later, that DNA would remain one of the most confounding elements of the case. The involvement of the FBI added another layer of complexity. Behavioral analysts examined the ransom note. Was it staged? Was it the work of someone who knew the family intimately? Or had an intruder slipped silently through the night? Media coverage exploded. Talk shows speculated endlessly. Tabloids printed theories as fact. The Ramseys gave interviews, proclaiming their heartbreak and demanding the real killer be found. In 1999, a grand jury was convened. Months of testimony unfolded behind closed doors. When the jury's decision was announced, the public was told that no indictment would be issued. It would take years before it was revealed that the grand jury had voted to indict John and Patsy on charges of child abuse resulting in death and being accessories to a crime. The district attorney declined to pursue the charges, citing insufficient evidence for conviction. The case remained officially unsolved. For many, that was the first twist of the knife, the sense that something had been decided, but never resolved. Supporters of the Ramseys pointed to the unidentified male DNA. They cited the broken basement window and the possibility of a stranger lurking in the shadows. Boulder was not immune to crime. The nearby University of Colorado meant a transient population, open houses, unlocked doors. Months after JonBenét's death, another young girl in the area was attacked in her home by an intruder who entered at night. Could the same person have struck twice? Investigators pursued suspects across state lines. A man named John Mark Carr falsely confessed in 2006, claiming detailed knowledge of the crime. His arrest made headlines worldwide, but DNA testing quickly cleared him. The hope of resolution dissolved once again. Patsy Ramsey never stopped insisting on the existence of an intruder. She spoke of forgiveness, of faith, of unimaginable loss. In 2006, she died of ovarian cancer in Atlanta, Georgia, still publicly suspected by many and officially cleared by none. In 2008, the district attorney formally exonerated the Ramsey family based on DNA evidence. Yet, public opinion remained divided. Some believe the crime was an accident, an argument between siblings spiraling out of control, followed by a panic cover-up. Others believe it was parental rage, hidden behind careful staging. Still others remain convinced of an unknown predator who entered and vanished without a trace. The evidence supports and undermines each theory in equal measure. The emotional toll on the family was profound. John Ramsey would later describe waking up each day to the same nightmare. His daughter's name became shorthand for mystery. Her image, forever 6 years old, was replayed on television specials, documentaries, and anniversary retrospectives. Programs on networks like CBS reignited debate decades later, presenting new forensic interpretations and then facing lawsuits from the Ramsey family for defamation. Every attempt to solve the case seemed only to deepen the divide. For Boulder, the crime became a scar. For law enforcement, it became a lesson in media frenzy and investigative missteps. For the public, it became an obsession, a puzzle box that refuses to open. The ransom note remains one of the most perplexing elements. Why write it inside the house? Why make it so long? Why use language echoing action movies? The garrote suggests deliberation. The head injury suggests sudden violence. The DNA suggests someone outside the family. The fiber suggests someone inside. Each clue is a mirror reflecting different possibilities. Time has eroded memories, but not questions. Advances in genetic genealogy have solved cold cases once thought impossible. Some investigators have called for renewed testing of the unidentified DNA using modern techniques. Hope flickers that science may yet speak where witnesses cannot. But until then, JonBenét's case remains suspended between competing narratives. Beneath the speculation lies an undeniable truth. A child died violently in her own home on Christmas night. Whatever happened in that basement room, whether the act of a stranger or someone trusted, was an eruption of cruelty that shattered a family and gripped a nation. The most haunting aspect of the case is not the ransom note or the disputed fibers. It is the stillness of that winter morning, the space between a mother's scream and the arrival of police, the unbearable moment a father carried his daughter upstairs, unaware that decades later the world would still argue over what he knew. The house in Boulder still stands. The snow still falls in December. The lights still go up for Christmas. And somewhere within the unresolved evidence, the truth remains, waiting silent, dividing investigators, dividing the public, refusing to rest. The tragedy of JonBenét Ramsey is not only that she was lost, it is that, nearly 3 decades later, justice remains uncertain, and the smallest voice in the story was the one forever silenced.